To Brazil now, where workers are holding a nationwide general strike to demand better working conditions and public services. It follows last month's mass protests, which brought more than 1 million people onto the streets. Those demonstrations were sparked by transport fare increases, but people are also angry over allegations of government corruption in the run-up to next year's World Cup. Lucrecia Franco has more from Rio de Janeiro.
Demonstrations continue shaking Brazil, but this time protesters were waving flags of trade unions, social movements and political parties. Older activists of many backgrounds voicing their demands.
Our first demand is a reduction in the 44-hour working week to 40 hours, recognition of public workers, against subcontracting, and a decent welfare policy.
The general strike, called by Brazil's trade unions, paralyzed the country, shutting down industry, public offices, and banks, along with other sectors. Dubbed the National Fight Day, it came after a wave of unexpected massive nationwide protests. Thursday's disruptions were limited compared to mass protests in June that drew more than 1 million supporters. Those were triggered by bus fare hikes. And then young non-partisan protesters took to the streets, protesting against corruption, poor health care and education services. Their voices were heard.
The protests brought lessons. The bus fares went down, and their demands were national priority.
Now these veteran trade union protesters that have been invisible in recent rallies also want to win the streets or even share them with a new generation of protesters.
This is a reaction. The trade unions are reacting to their loss of power, to their loss of influence during the demonstrations in the last month. And they want to show to the young people in Brazil that the old people are still able, well, to create some noise.
With next year's general elections in Brazil, presidential and congressional, analysts believe that a politically oriented agenda will start guiding what began as a more spontaneous protest movement. However, everyone knows now what most Brazilians want: better services, cleaner politicians, and control over public spending. Lucrecia Franco, CCTV, Rio de Janeiro.